Just let everyone know we're going to wait a little.
Thank you.
Guys. We are live at this. Councilmember Esparza, are you on the line? Chet? Good. We'll do a little roll call of the folks that are calling in.
Look at that, you're so special now. That too. That's good.
It's like a press conference. Except I don't call people names.
Come on.
The internet works faster when nobody's here.
Hey, Frank, this is Steve Smith. I'm here.
Hi, Steve. How are you?
Good.
Anybody else on the dialed in besides the city attorney?
This is Ruth.
Oh, hi, Ruth. Anybody else? Any city staff or member of the public on the call-in line? All right. I've got 5:15, so no reason not to go. So I will call the regular meeting of the Wenatchee City Council to order. It is Thursday, March 26th, 2020, 5:15 p.m. I've called the meeting to order. We always do, so I'll go ahead and lead the pledge. So I guess we'll just stand up and go ahead and do that.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And for roll call this evening, we have 6 of our 7 council members with us, and Councilmember Esparza is with us on the phone this evening. We do have an abbreviated meeting tonight from the governor's orders. We're only supposed to be doing things that are essential to government services, so we will have an abbreviated meeting tonight. We're not sure how long that abbreviated schedule will go on. So our first item tonight are the consent items, which includes this evening's agenda, the vouchers, and the minutes from our previous meetings.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda, vouchers, and minutes from previous meetings.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Huffaker, second by Kulas, to adopt this evening's consent items, which includes the agenda, the vouchers, and our minutes from the previous meetings. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. We have, looks like 5 action items today. The first is regarding my declaration of an emergency. So Laura, do you want to go ahead and present that? I think you can come up and do that.
Good afternoon, Council Mayor. The item before you is the proclamation of a local emergency related to coronavirus, as well as a resolution that ratifies the closing of all city offices. So on March 18th, the mayor actually signed the proclamation of emergency to help us access some of these additional things that we can do during this emergency, shutting down the offices. In these next coming council meetings, you'll see other resolutions to sort of ratify some of those actions. So for example, moratorium on charging fees for water, what was some other things? Taking payments, reduced service hours. So these are all things that we're tracking as part of the emergency declaration, and we'll bring those for you to ratify in future meetings. So this is the emergency declaration in general, and then one of the actions, which is closing the public offices, which was effective March 17th. And that's it, unless you have any other questions.
And I have sort of been talking with Steve Smith from time to time to see what actions we can do and not do, and what stuff you guys sort of need to. Most of the stuff's been very simple so far. You know, we opened up the foothills for hiking 4 days early. Well, that should be a contract between us and the P Trust. Well, I just said do it. And so we're sort of keeping track of those sorts of things, and we'll get you a motion to sort of let you know the sorts of things that we have been doing, but none of them have been substantial, other than the changing of hours here and our substantial reduced work staff. In fact, I just got off the phone with Rob Jammerman, who told me that the crews are very thankful, on a very limited work for them in terms of the social distancing and all this stuff. They, again, want to thank you guys for allowing them to sort of work differently. And it's been different for the last, full week of just sort of reduced crews and that sort of thing. What is interesting and just is everyone's doing this slightly different. For instance, like on the PUD park system, they have at Walla Walla Point Park, they've got a big, huge children's play, whatever that is. Well, they've shut it down. They've just got it wrapped. Well, we have 8 of them. So what Dave's crews have been doing is he's got 2 that start at 6:30 and they go out every morning to porta potties. So everyone's sort of, so don't expect all of the government agencies to think like it's a great benefit to have folks out sort of doing stuff. But again, I think everyone's sort of doing it differently. I think Dave and I are talking almost daily about what's everyone doing and are we doing sort of the right sort of thing. So I will tell you, we're just trying to do our best, and that's sort of all we can do.
Let me clarify, did you, the PUD, as you mentioned, the PUD Wall Park, they've got it cordoned off,
Yeah.
so they, kids can't get in it. So have we done the same thing to our playgrounds? Okay, our playgrounds are still open.
So Dave's group is out doing disinfecting, clean out the bathrooms. They disinfect the bathrooms and they're open for normal business. I have not been by Met Hal Park, so I don't know how much use that's getting. I meant to get by there over the weekend just to sort of see what's going on.
I was by there yesterday, just drove by, and there were about 3 kids out there playing.
Okay,
Is it finished?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so the issue is there's not, 20 kids playing soccer and a game of 5-on-5 basketball, those sorts of things that I think would sort of defeat the purpose of what the governor's actions are. So I'm really not looking at it all that close. I haven't got a complaint yet from anybody saying, hey, Mayor, you should go park.
Mhm.
Rotary is still pretty active, but what I see now is families playing together rather than big groups.
Okay,
So you have a family playing Frisbee, you have a family playing basketball. For the most part, I think it's going well. I do think it's great that we have left them open, given them the opportunity to get out and still be part of a family, and nobody wants to be cooped up inside the whole time, so.
and we don't want to do porta potties. Those make more of a mess than they're worth.
I have to agree with Councilmember Huffaker. This afternoon driving out and I saw this family out and about and they were practicing social distancing. They were all standing around, but they were about 6 feet apart, and it's a new world right now.
Yep. Okay. Is there any other comments? I'd entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I'll make them effective on March 17, 2020.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilmember Hornby, second by Councilmember Harold, to adopt Resolution 2020-08 and adopt a proclamation of emergency in order to allow the city of Wenatchee to declare a total emergency and ratify the action to close all city offices to the public effective March 17, 2020. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Erickson, you got a couple issues, one for the Clark Mausoleum and one with Pinnacles Prep.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Dave Erickson, Parks Rec Director. One other follow-up, the other thing that our maintenance guys are doing out there is we're all sanitizing with the bleach liquid, just following the CDC guidelines for that. So one other step that we're doing out there. My first item is last fall we applied for a state historic preservation grant to try to renovate the Clark Mausoleum, which has issues. Everything from the roof to the doors to the outside plaster, and we were successful in getting that grant. It's for roughly $42,000, almost $43,000. There's no matching requirement, which is pretty cool. And so if you accept the grant, then we would go out to bid to replace the roof and fix the leaks and all the stuff that's wrong with that mausoleum. It's something that's been underway for a couple of years. We have tried to track down the family members, and from what we've been able to find, there's one in Montana. They don't have the financial means to be able to do anything. Typically, it's the family who's responsible for this gift that just keeps on giving. Like I said, there's no match required. We will have some additional funding. We're anticipating that will be needed to make sure the project gets completely done. We'll know more on that once we go out to bid. Park maintenance staff would be doing the vegetation removal along the outside of the building. That's one of the issues on the other side. And then we'll be removing the wooden roof that was put on maybe in the 70s. Mark, do you remember 70s or 80s?
Yeah.
Which is causing water actually to run down the face of the building, and is part of the issue. So we're going to remove that and hopefully then repair the roof properly and get it all cleaned up. The project would happen, just kind of depends on a little bit on virus, but we're hoping after Memorial Day, but before Veterans Day.
And I think that, or so.
Yeah, we took this to finance back in January, and we're anticipating when we went and got the initial quotes, it'd be about $20,000 more to do this work.
Hey, what's the roof? It's been a long time since I've walked by the thing close. I've always see it kind of from a distance, but what is the roof? Is it a wood structure of some sort?
Yeah, it's wood and it's all rotten too. So at the edge of the roof, you could literally stick your, like the pen, through the wood up and in, because the water's kind of run down and inside of it. Yeah,
Is it leaking inside?
a little bit, yeah.
Okay.
And the front doors are all peeled apart and stuff too. They're in good shape.
And then the material on the outside,
Stucco.
it's stucco.
We got a quote from Stucco by Alex to come in and fill all those parts, so we're going to try to get that fixed and put back up.
So is the actual structure itself sound enough to do all of this work, or is it in bad shape like the rest of it?
Yeah,
I can't
no.
imagine that it's.
No, it's pretty solid still. We had our building department come out and do an inspection of it, and
What
seems
is it,
pretty
wood
solid.
framed?
No, it's solid concrete.
Oh, it's concrete. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
it's
good.
heavy.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'd like to sort of go in there when you do that stuff, not for very long, but I just sort of want to see.
Visit the 6 people that are.
Yeah, I don't know, I want to sort of,
No, that and the one across from the Carlberg Mausoleum, is it in okay shape?
Yeah, that's in actually really good shape, especially when you have this one as comparison.
Yeah.
Its sister.
There was another one in that vicinity that the city demolished in the 60s.
Oh.
Yeah, the mid 60s or so. There was one. I think it backed up on the Clark one on the other side.
Wow.
That was a long time ago.
all right, any questions for David? If not, I entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I'd make a motion for the city council to authorize the mayor to sign grant agreement number FY 20-90009-001 with the State of Washington Department of Archaeology and Historic Preservation for the Clark Mausoleum Restoration Project.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Bailey, second by Councilmember Cuevas, to approve the grant agreement FY 20-90009-001 with the Washington State Department of Archaeology and Historic Preservation for the Clark Mausoleum Restoration Project. Any discussion?
Dave, my question is things like this, do we need to be putting money aside if it's the family that's supposed to take care of them, and they're obviously.
Have issues at either of those in the future. And I'm not sure if those are on the facilities department's facility plans. I haven't talked to Aaron about that, but that would be good to do.
Okay, thanks.
All right, any other discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
From my agenda report, I'd be super excited about that. But we have 2. So we have a lease, mutual use agreement. So the lease we've been working on since last fall. Actually, even before that, because we did a request for proposals process, went through that. Pinnacles Prep, as you guys may recall, came out on top and is interested in taking over the operation of the community center. So we worked on this lease agreement with them. Some of the conditions in there are that we have a long term, so we meet both the CDBG requirements, but then also allows them to go after the loans that they need to do renovations down there. They're hoping to put between $1 and $5 million into the building and structure itself to make it go phased plan. There would be an initial phase where they go through and just retrofit everything just to get in there. And then a second phase coming in later on where they would add a high school wing and potentially take the Veterans Hall and go up, from what I understand, and across. They just hired their architects and are working on that. A couple of the highlights from the agreement. This is kind of conditioned upon them getting a conditional use permit to actually operate their school there. And then also that they get their charter, because if they don't get a charter, there's not really a point for them to move in. So there's an out clause if they don't get either of those things. Kind of the good side of things is that they're taking on the whole building. We hand them the keys, it's yours, you do the snow plowing, you do the landscaping, the whole 9 yards on that facility. They're still planning on trying to accommodate the lessees that are in there that want to be there. They've reached out to all, and then they're also still looking at doing things like having space available for those community gatherings. And they'd still like to use the community center for programs. And so we have this exact same agreement with the Wenatchee School District where they get to use our facilities, we get to use their facilities, we just schedule with each other and you clean up after each other. So it works out really well for us. We don't exchange money or anything, so it works out great. So that's your second agreement that you have in there too. I'll try to answer any questions you might have. I did send out Pinnacle's Prep letter that their board put together asking that we move ahead with this.
Dave, I have a couple of things. That you gave quite a tome there, but has a long, I don't want to say it has a long history in a fairly short period of time.
Yeah.
And this really, I guess, both these next two questions have kind of nothing to do with the Pinnacle Prep thing per se, but it has to do with the facility and the property itself. In the original agreement there, supposedly, for the Veterans Hall, the county was paying $450 for rent. Mayor, you've been the one that's kind of been dealing with the veterans. Has there been any discussion for the county to continue to do that?
So they paid rent because their was going there. So their Veterans Service Office was going there to meet with veterans. They decided he was better off working in the jail and minister's office, whatever that little. So they said, when we take him out of there, there's no reason for us to pay rent. Now, I think we might have thought that was sort of different, but that's the way they interpreted it. So they took their toys and they went back to their place and they said, we're not paying any more money.
Okay, all right. The second thing was still on the kind of on the Veterans Hall thing. I read, if I read this correctly, the property where the original Memorial Hall was, and that whatever it had burned down.
Right over there.
Yeah, right across the street over here. At that point, was part of the city, or we assumed it in some.
I think we owned it, and I
We
think the
owned it,
veterans were
yeah.
just using it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then we sold the property, correct?
Yes.
Okay. How much did we get for it?
I don't remember.
I don't recall.
We need to buy it back for 3 times that we sold it for, but it wasn't very much.
I wanted to keep it for a community garden.
Yeah.
Yeah. We could probably, do you remember the guy's name that owns it? If Steve King were here, he would just tell me the guy's name
don't
and I'd
remember.
Google it on Chelan County. Yeah, we sold it.
Okay. So are we kind of assuming at this point, since we're picking up the tab for the new location for them, that at least some or portion of, or at least for a while, we're paying whatever we got for that is being used to pay that, and then after at some point that's going to run out and we're going to have to.
Takes us over, which we think they're going to. The veterans are sort of without a spot. We have no legal obligation to provide a home for the veterans. Mark and I had this conversation. I think we clearly have a moral obligation. And if they've picked the Ballard building and decide that's the one and it's something that we can afford, I think as a city, it's they remember that as that was their home and we took it from them. Now, saying that's right, that's just,
Yeah.
right. So it's sort of, we now have a job to make sure that the veterans have a place, and I think the Ballard one is going to work. The Ballards are still working on some internal stuff. I think they're prepared to sign a lease for us. We're not in any hurry because this lease doesn't take effect till the 1st of January. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get something from the Ballards in the next 60 days and the veterans move out by mid-year, something like that. So the veterans are very happy with this relationship, that they're getting a different spot in theirs and they don't have to put stuff away for the renters to show up, and it really is sort of their spot. So I think from that perspective, we feel pretty good, sort of thinking this will work out different, but that's okay.
No, I have no objection to what we're doing. I just was,
Yeah, there's a history there. Yeah.
and I agree that we sort of have an obligation to do that, to take care of that. The last thing, and then I'll shut up and go away, is the CDBG, I always get that messed up. Where are we? Are we okay on that in terms of this conversion? Have we outrun the 6 years at this point, or so we can kind of do what we want, or are we still being held to a lot of?
We never made it.
We didn't quite make it to the 6 years.
We didn't
Yeah.
quite make it.
We were, I don't know, 4.5 years or something like that with the Community Act. And had they decided to continue on, then we would have been free and clear. However, the clock starts over now.
Starts over, okay.
So we were back at square one. So you'll see in the agreement, we have an initial 6-year term
Yeah,
followed by a renewal, I think, of 24 years or something like that.
yeah.
Because that's that 6-year clock then starting, and CDBG, and would have to follow all the CDBG requirements.
So Pinnacles Prep, if in fact they do take over this facility, then to meet the grant, the CBG grant stuff for low income and whatever, they are responsible for making whatever accommodations they need to make to fulfill that.
Right, yep. And they have to provide us with reporting showing that they're doing that and all that good stuff, yeah.
But I also think the charter school rules are fairly consistent with CDBG rules. In other words, you can't put a church people go to the charter school. It's got to fit the community mold in some variety, which I think that location does. I think they're going to have the same makeup of Hispanics as you have in the school district. So whether that's 40% or 50%, they fully anticipate. I think they got to work with people I think that they won't have any problems meeting that requirement.
And finally, on the community garden, are they taking that over and running that too, or are you still retaining control of that?
No, we're giving everything to them.
So they're going to do the community
Yep.
garden.
They're going to allow it to be there?
Yeah, it's part of the grounds. We haven't talked specifically, but we did name it in there.
Okay.
They may be using it for educational purposes also, for some of their class. But we also have the community garden space at Met Hall Park now too.
Okay, I'm done.
Council to approve the community center lease agreement and joint use agreement with Pinnacles Prep and authorize the mayor to sign the agreements.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Harold, second by Councilmember Huffaker, to approve the community center lease agreement and joint use agreement with Pinnacles Prep and authorize the mayor to sign the agreements. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Mr. Smith goes to Washington.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Steve Smith, coming to you live from 617 Washington Street.
Excellent. It's a rough neighborhood. Be careful over there.
Yeah. So this item on the agenda has to do with a proposed contract for legal services with Ariana Cozart to act as when our office has a conflict for various reasons and is unable to prosecute a case. For example, right now we have a case where our prosecutor was a witness to a crime. I think somebody made a threat or assaulted behavior in court, and so he'll be a witness in the prosecution and he can't prosecute it. So we need a prosecutor to cover those conflicts. Previously we used Travis Brandt. Mr. Brandt became a Superior Court judge and had to terminate his contract. So we haven't had a conflict prosecutor since then. We don't need one very often, but when we do, we do. So we have this case right now where we need Ariana to step in and prosecute a case, and then we'll keep her on as needed. In fact, I think we have a case right now where we need a conflict prosecutor. So this is kind of our standard contract that we've used for many years, same contract we used for Travis Brandt. And she agreed to a rate of $150 an hour, which I think is very reasonable. And so I'd recommend that council approve this contract.
All right, any questions for Steve?
I just have a comment. I will say that I'm up against Ariana Cozart on many cases, and she is a very effective attorney.
Excellent. That mean you win most of the time, or how does that work?
No,
What's the
she's
win-loss
very
record
good.
here?
She's
Yeah.
very responsible and make sure that, she's timely with her motions and, that things proceed according to, on a test, and she's just very good.
Good.
Well, and she had previously done, she's the best available person to do this.
And she's done prosecution, too.
Good, yeah. All right, any questions, council members? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I'd make a motion for the city council to approve the contract for legal services with Ariana Cozart.
Second?
Motion by Councilmember Kulas, second by Councilmember Bailey to authorize or to approve the contract for legal services with Ariana Cozart. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. Thank you.
And our last item on our agenda before the mayor's report, agreement between the city and the port regarding some easements on the lineage. Are you going to do this one? Yeah. Okay.
I don't know how to turn on this. Oh. While we're working on that. So this is for the port's property, the southern portion of the lineage property. There were some cleanup actions that needed to happen there in order for them to be able to get it ready to start putting it on the market through their RFP process. So this lineage north node agreement includes those actions. So you've got a utility easement, an access easement, a clarifying boundary, and then they've also agreed to allow future public parking in the future development. So this first one, that's actually a little parcel that the city owns. So it's about access easement for our utility water transmission lines. And so we cleaned that up as well. So those are the three actions. And then if you're looking at this parcel M, this little area here is where they're going to have parking in the future. And so they've agreed to work with us to have that be public parking for future development so that the public can park there as well. That's about it. In terms of cost and whatnot, it sort of balances out because of the ease we needed versus the little piece that they needed. And then the public parking piece, of course, is a good amount of value for the city as well. And any other questions?
Yeah, I think they're finding lots of little issues with some of these properties they purchased, and this is the first one they want to sell. They didn't have access, and we didn't have a utility easement, and they are really concerned about parking, so they want to make sure that there's public parking in the back, and I think that's probably a good idea to have as much public parking as possible. So we're still working on these things very closely with the port, and this was just a cleanup that Steve King had been working on with, I don't remember, it was Randy Asplund or somebody
Yes.
was working on sort of getting these things cleaned up, so they seem reasonable to accomplishing the public good down there.
Is there anything we need that utility easement for immediately?
I was running through the middle of that or not, I really don't know. I'm guessing there
It
is,
looked from the map that there is something underground there.
yeah, or they do a bunch of remodeling in there.
Okay.
So Laura will follow up with our utility
Check it out.
folks.
Okay.
And the access to that's going to be off of Palouse Street, I guess.
probably going to be off of both, to be honest with
I was
you.
going to ask, is there going to be, is there access off of Arundel?
Yeah, so I think the problem is they didn't have legal access on Palouse, and they wanted to have access on both Palouse and Arundel.
Okay.
It didn't make any sense for us to not let them have access on Palouse. And we owned the property, so it's like, well, we'll give you the property so you can have access. You'll be able to enter behind those buildings from both Arundel and Palouse.
Good.
Along the building as well, so it's like trying to accommodate all of that.
They've been using it for years. It just wasn't legal.
Yeah, it sort of looked like it belonged to Lineage. Yeah.
And are we okay on, both on that access easement and, or the access parcel and then the little piece to, put claim deeding that over? Is that a giving the public value to?
I think because we're getting the easement for the utility line in replace, I think it's deemed to be and then I think we
And
can
the
do.
public parking.
Yeah, plus we can do it with government agencies, I think, without the gifting of public funds.
That's correct.
Like kind exchange.
Yeah, I just think when you do it with government agencies, you have that rule, are we gifting them more than they're gifting us?
We're dealing with.
Entertain a motion?
Your Honor, I make a motion for City Council to authorize the mayor to sign the Lineage North Node Agreement with the Port of Chelan County and the Chelan-Douglas Regional Port Authority, and further authorize the mayor to sign access easement once reviewed by city staff.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Huffaker, second by Councilmember Harold, to authorize the mayor to sign the Lineage North Node Agreement with the Port of Chelan County and the Chelan-Douglas Regional Port Authority, and further authorize the mayor to sign access easements once reviewed by the city staff. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carries. Thanks, Laura. Thanks, Steve King. Still gives us work to do when he's not even around. I've got just 5 or 6 quick things. For those of you who are on the Finance Committee, you'll hear all these again, but we actually signed the jail contract today. So for those of you that didn't know, you authorized me to sign it last December. We never got around to it, so it finally signed today.
That's good.
So, and there's a repayment clause because now under the governor's order, we can't arrest misdemeanor crimes anymore. So we think our average daily population is around 10. I think when this all runs, I think Edgar's going to run out and arrest everybody and then we're going to go way up again. But, so it might sort of even out, but right now we're at a fairly low number, but we did actually get that signed today. You did see your sales tax numbers today. I don't know if you got the email on those. It is not down for January. I knew when they showed me that something was wrong. And I went and I looked at Laura and I said, this isn't right. I got a better feel for what's going on. And then I went to Brad and I said, it's not right. And he finally went to the very last number and there was a big minus sign. So some sales tax we got credited for in December for one of the phone companies. Yeah. One of the phone companies, wasn't for us. It was for somebody else. So they took it away from us. So when you really get that out of, our December was too high and we'll reduce it, and our January one was basically flat. So I felt better that we weren't having a dog in January. So anyhow, I felt a little bit better about that. The land deal with the pit is supposed to close either tomorrow or Monday. So that's all gone very quickly. I'm supposed to be signing documents soon. So I just wanted you to know that is ongoing. Having a roundabout with the Winco, additional traffic in the future. I say right now we're at 50-50. I don't know where that's all going to go. We're trying to get it to the finish line, and last week we had a deal, and this week we don't have a deal. So as of 4 o'clock today, we didn't have a deal. But we're still trying. We did get, for the older council members, you'll remember 2 or 3 years ago, we did a deal where we agreed with Regional Water to lease water to folks downstream if they wanted to lease water from us at an agreed upon price. We did get a request through an attorney to lease quite a significant part of our water rights that we're not using to the tune of $220,000 a year, which we thought was quite a bit more than we thought we were going to end up happening or not. I think they want it for a 10-year term, which might be longer than we want to give, but just thought it was interesting that we got a request for that. And we'll sort of see where all that goes. And then with respect to the Ballard Building, again, as I mentioned, we're just not quite there yet on the lease, but that should be coming, I think, fairly soon, and I don't see any reasons why that sort of wouldn't happen. In terms of the COVID stuff, obviously, as I told you, we've got very limited staff out there working right now. Most folks are working from home. I don't know how we got this conference call stuff figured out, but one person calls me and there's 7 people on the phone, so it seems to me like they figured out how to do conference calling pretty well through some technology. So I think that's going to be the new normal for a while. I'm on the weekly call with the health district, and I don't know, Tim, you're probably busy as ever because we need all this remote access, and they're all calling Tim and the IT folks. So yeah, business is normal for those guys. But anyhow, I think it's worked out as well as possible. So we're just trying to adapt to what that looks like. And so I don't even know, we don't meet next week at all. That would be the 5th or the 1st. So we'll meet again on April the 6th or whatever, 7th day that is. That would be regular session, 9th or pick a day. I will keep you posted. I know I sent you guys some emails sort of early on when this was all going on. If something changes, I'll get an email out to you guys. It's changing pretty rapidly, but just hope you all stay safe and keep your social distancing. And there's just a lot sort of going on. The Finance Committee did talk today, though, and Brad gave some projections about if we have a 15% increase in sales tax, which is sort of similar to the recession back in 08 or 09. But he sort of felt like we could weather that storm fairly okay when we're short, I think, 12 employees right now. And we really don't have an HR department currently. Carrie's been sick and Caitlin just had a baby. So we're just sort of, even if you wanted to hire 12 people, we're not hiring people. So we think between the lack of employee hires and the reduction in sales tax, we'll sort of work our way through it. What will be more interesting is hotel motel tax. March might be 0. I mean, and so, that money is committed to the chamber and then debt payment on the convention center. And so at some point, when your revenue is 0, something sort of has to give. We do have a clause in our contract with the chamber that allows us to readjust if there's a significant change in hotel motel tax. And I would guess if we go to 0, that would qualify as a significant change. So I will follow up with Shiloh. Laura and I will set up a meeting for maybe next week and just sort of see where things are at. But that is the one that sales tax is going to go down. I get it. Hotel motel tax is going to drop off the face of the earth. And we really have to sort of think about how we prioritize those two things. I don't know what the right answer is, but we need to think about what that might look like. Council members, anything else going on in your meeting stuff? Are you still meeting in some of the other stuff?
It's been canceled.
Okay.
Yeah.
Canceled or Zoom.
Okay.
Yesterday, the RMSA board
Okay.
totally on the conference call
Okay.
all over the state. Too sure where, staying solvent and all those kinds of things, if things would go for very long, but RMSA is in very good financial shape.
So interesting, today I was on the Public Facility District Board meeting, and we were talking, obviously, they're sort of shut down, and they're helping with feeding the homeless folks and stuff like that, and those in need. And so one of the discussions that I was having with Mark is we've agreed to put some money in the bank account out of our reserves to keep the 11 full-time employees employed, which I think is the right thing to do. And we have insurance through Endurus, and Endurus has a clause that they will pay. He has any sort of clause for that because we would bankrupt the system. But the Public Facility District probably will get a claim and will get paid some money for its losses. So anything on the COVID? I mean, was that mostly what you talked about, or
Yeah, it
other
was
stuff?
Basically that, and we just, some routine business in terms of claims and all that kind of stuff like we normally do.
Okay.
But Good, just again, just the questions that arise about, if certain things happen, there's going to be, could be a lot of things. I think, Tammy, you got, the mayor's, the governor's last directive on Tuesday night on the Open Public Meetings Act.
Yep.
And so forth. We're pretty sensitive to all of that because of these claims. One of the things that's really interesting is that there's about 5 really frequent flyers that file claims against organizations and municipalities. Of the 79 cases that were filed, Public Records Act claims that were filed against RMSA last year, 51% of those were those 5 people. So, we're hoping to get the legislature's not real receptive to making changes, but there's got to be something done about that. So,
Yeah. People make a living doing that, don't
they
they?
do. It's absolutely the way they.
Yeah.
And particularly with going into this situation where the 5-day rule and so
Yeah.
forth. So the governor's for
A couple of weeks.
good. One other thing, Your Honor, I assume everybody, all council members, got a email today from a fellow by the name of Todd Cordell about the Alano.
Yeah.
I assume you got one too,
Yeah.
Mayor. He really didn't ask for anything, and I had a follow-up email with him, but I think he's just, he's looking for some direction or some help. So if there's anything that we can reach out to him and see if there's anything that we can direct him to.
So I did, I emailed him back. Yeah, he and I actually went to grade school together, of all things,
Oh,
a
really?
zillion years ago. Yep. He went to Washington, only for a few years, and then ended up at Indiana. So I did forward that into different things, and one of them will follow back up with him at some point, maybe later on this week. I don't think we can run out and buy him a building yet. You'd think there'd be something around for him to be able to help. Yeah.
Okay, good. Just want to make sure we followed up on that.
Yeah.
No, but I'll just put my voice in there that I think it's a good thing to support, We were looking at needle exchange programs because one of the positive things was to maybe get people off of addiction. And I think what they're doing is providing a great service that really does help a lot of folks when they get out of jail and don't have a place to go and they need some support. So
Yep.
anything we can do to point them in the right direction would be great.
Yeah, staff's working on that.
Thank you.
Good.
Anything else from anybody else?
I wanted to know how we're doing with the sewer system. I keep seeing posts on Facebook about, sewer systems going bad because people are flushing down, like the non-flushables or even the flushable wipes.
No wipes are
Is
flushable.
Rob there? Have we seen or experienced any issues?
I will have Laura check with our wastewater treatment folks. I know Anna put something on Facebook, but I think she grabbed that from Seattle or someplace where they're having more issues.
Even if it says flushable on the package, they are not.
Yeah. So I'll have Laura check with our wastewater treatment folks, and they'll get you an email out tomorrow to see if they're having any additional problems with everybody wiping their hands and sanitizing and all that. I think those things are better off in the regular trash bag than getting flushed.
Yeah. Okay.
Anything else? All right, guys, we'll see you in a couple weeks.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right.